I once read on the internet that pineapples have enzymes that are active in the process of digestion, which is to say that when we eat pineapples, they eat us back. I believe we share a similar relationship with art. When we consume it, it consumes us. The core of the story is a play by William Shakespeare called The Taming of the Shrew. It has always been one of my favorite plays, despite the fact that the most common interpretation of it is in stark contrast with my feminist leanings. The play has been an indelible part of my life for a decade now, and I'm 22, so that's half my life. I was always a literature nut. Loved books, loved reading, loved writing ever since I was a toddler. Okay, so maybe the reading and the writing started a little later, but yes, I loved it. I was lucky enough to be born into a family of readers. My first memory of reading was my party, my grandmom reading to me. She would point out when she was reading, and I'd be like, "That's the word, right, party? That's the word. That's where you are." And she would patiently tell me if that was the word, and if not, she would correct me. And it seems very small now, but I owe so much of who I am and what I love today to that phase of my life. Patty once told me the softened and less children having sex and bloodthirsty cousins dying version of Romeo and Juliet. And I loved it. Because back then, 13 and 14 were ancient old ages. Like when you were 13 and 14, boyfriends weren't disgusting anymore. And so I listened and I was enthralled. And at the end of it, I found myself crying. People who know me will tell you that it's not very hard to make me cry, but just for the sake of this evening, let's just appreciate my tender artistic soul. So I asked Patti who wrote it, and she gave me a lot of insight into the Elizabethan age and the bard himself. Mr. Willie Shakes had entered my life, and he was going to stay there forever. I asked Patti for other stories by him, and she never got tired of repeating them or sanitizing them for me. But on my 8th birthday, she gave me, I would say, a life-changing gift. I got a book titled Abridged Works of Shakespeare. And the illustrations were very Halloween-y. Like Juliet was standing on the balcony and that picture scarred me. It will stay in my mind forever. She looked terrifying and Romeo below looked scared. But more importantly, the stories were just the right mix of true to the original and not too disturbing for children. So it was pretty ideal at 8 years old. And I read all the stories in about a day. I was that child. I read them all in a day, and then I reread them fanatically. I don't know if this was some sort of foreshadowing of my ICSE future, but as you like it, I did not like it. The hero from Much Ado About Nothing bored me. I read Merchant of Venice and felt bad for Shylock because I read about how Jews were treated, and I was like, that is how I would behave too. Hamlet left me with more questions than answers. And Othello, I just didn't like it because I'm very big on the whole true love thing. So, no. But the last story in that book, that reaction is something that I will never forget. The Taming of the Shrew had a fiery, almost unbearably angry, violent female character, Kate. The story talks about how her father found it difficult to get her married off. And eventually, Petruchio does marry her for her money, which I'd like to reiterate, boys are gross. So, yeah, he tamed her and made her a Kate, conformable as other household Kates. That was the part that had me torn. Like, he destroyed her spirit slowly. But at the same time, I also had my cliched happy ever after. So, I was confused. When I described the story to my family, they were, to put it mildly, horrified. Why would Taming of the Shrew be anybody's favorite? Was it the hag from hell? Was it the unhealthy relationship standards? What was it? And I don't remember my exact words, but I remember my logic. I said, every other story by Shakespeare talks about gentle, loyal, loving, pleasant, beautiful women. But nobody talks about what happens when a girl gets angry and doesn't like the people around her. They always just like the people around them. And I didn't know it then, but I had chanced upon something that authors struggle with even today: the appeal of a relatable female character. And I didn't buy into the vilification of Kate at all. Kate was the shit. Kate was the break your instrument on your teacher's head if he annoys you kind of lit. And so it had begun. I had eaten the pineapple and it was beginning to eat me. Fast forward to grade 5. I had just gone from super gifted child, 10 on 10 in every dictation, gold medals, fierce debater, spelling bee, outstanding in every acid test, every take ever taken, singer, performer, head girl for whatever that counts for, 4th grade, to I wear skirts now middle school, where suddenly studies didn't seem that absorbing, boys were not completely disgusting, friends were changing faster than Amul billboards, and the first symptoms of my then undiagnosed bipolar disorder started showing. But most of them were attributed to the preteen attitude, which is apparently a thing. I began to hate math because I was no longer the best at it, and I've never been one for sportsmanship spirit. And after science, there was physics and chemistry, so basically science. And I was confused. I was in transition. I was lost. I was undiagnosed. I had been bullied to the mix, and I was just in a very dark place. Then, a Hindi teacher who liked me for some reason and took my side in all the staff room wars decided to put up a play at an inter-school dramatics a contest. She asked if I wanted to try out, and of course I did. I got a get out of jail free card, no math class, and extracurricular credits. So I was thrilled, so I signed up immediately. She did a comedy about a dystopian kingdom with discontented people and an oaf for a ruler, and I played the wife of the main character, who wasn't the biggest fan of her lazy husband's terrible tendency to not buy her jewelry. Path-breakingly original, I know. But it was my first time on stage, and I thought it was the best script ever written, and I was so excited. A shrewish wife. Where had I heard that before? I hated the hell out of that role. I did so much character building for that one character that I think I mixed parts of that character and me so thoroughly that I never did manage to unmix them after that. Through the role that was based off of Kate's temperament, I discovered the joys of theatre and acting and just the stage itself. August 2018 marked a decade since my stage debut. And since then, I've done innumerable shows and shoots and performances of all sorts. But that was the one that really kickstarted it for me, right there. And it also planted a seed. If playing a character who was kind of like Kate could be so eye-opening and be like such a dream come true, imagine how it would feel to actually play Katerina Minola in a production of The Taming of the Shrew on stage. And there began my secret dream of essaying her. My dream play, my dream role. Fast forward to college. I chose theatre, English literature, and psychology as my majors. The first day, they kind of laid out a plan for the course in front of us, and they told us that in second year, we would be expected to put up a Shakespearean comedy. And I just innocently and with no selfish intentions whatsoever began to incept Taming of the Shrew into my classmates' minds, and they very obligingly agreed, which was great. We had auditions, I tried out, 9 years of obsession paid off, I got the role. And that was it. My dream role was mine, at last. And then our head of department told us that we would be performing at the ITC Windsor for the Deputy Commissioner from England. I was thrilled. It was everything and more. And let me tell you, getting to play Kate on stage for the first time was immeasurably, unbelievably terrible. We bombed. The sets were falling apart. People forgot their lines. A metal pole fell on my best friend's face, so when she came out for curtain call, she was bleeding. It was terrible. And I sobbed for hours after that performance, and I promised myself that I would do better when we performed at the college show. And I did. But it didn't matter because that was the day that Karnataka and Tamil Nadu decided to fight over the Kaveri again, and nobody could travel in the bund. So everybody I had invited, except two of my very close friends and my parents, did not come. So it was ruined 2.0. Then we heard we were auditioning for Thespo. Thespo is a youth theatre festival at Prithvi Theatre in Mumbai. And by that time, I was done. I was thinking, I'm just going to go ahead, perform this one more time, be done with it, never look at this play ever again, ever in my life. But in our jeans and t-shirts on a rooftop with improvisations we did not discuss with the director, we set the audition space on fire. It was amazing. We were funny. We weren't overdone. We weren't too rehearsed. Just perfect. The two judges said we weren't festival ready yet, but if we worked with a mentor that they would assign, we would be ready to hit Thespo at Prithvi, which is a year-long follow-up to the festival. And we couldn't because in this world of ours, attendance is far greater than art. But still, we were made an offer. I'd finally played Kate to my heart's contentment. I decided then that I was going to spend the rest of my life courting this stage rush. The Taming of the Shrew and Kate finally helped me find my life's calling. Theatre. Lovely place to end the story, right? Wrong. This play is now one of my magnificent obsessions. I ended up performing the wit battle scene where Kate and Petruchio first meet about 6 times, missing my Petruchio's arms once and landing on my butt in a decidedly ungraceful way. I spent all of college overthinking each performance and comparing notes, me, past me, character, representation. It was then that I decided that I wanted to adapt just the Kate and Petruchio dynamic into a play. None of the other characters, none of the other subplots even mattered. Just these two. Their backstories, their first date, their bedroom life, who decides where to eat. Just these two. I had a few ideas and I've decided to now start working on a script for it. Basically, this entire story was an elaborate ruse to ask if anyone wanted to collaborate with me on this project. Any takers? I will be right there. Please contact me at the end of the show. Thank you so much.